originally come from the inner city, and I had a room in the buildings, corporation buildings, which was condemned. So the corporation offered me Devaney Gardens. Now at the time I never heard of Devaney Gardens. Knew there was flats up there, but I called them the park flats. But it ended up my ma's sister actually lived up in Devaney.
I moved up here when I was 6. Along Old Town Street, and it was always community in that respect. You know, people they all knew one another because they came from around the one area, the city centre, Dominick Street and Cabra Street, Old Town Street.
There's just under 280 flats in Devaney Gardens, a huge set of council blocks off the North Circular Road in Dublin City. Built in the 1950s, they're in a state of disrepair. Now Dublin City Council is pushing ahead with demolishing all of them and rebuilding new homes in the biggest project of its kind since the knocking of the Ballymun Towers.
I'm from Cabra, and when I'm from Cabra, I look at that, and people used to say to me, how the hell could you walk in Devaney? And I said, why, what's wrong with Devaney? Them flats, oh gee.
Oh, you came from flats. So everybody was brushed with this black tar, you came from flats. And I think that's how the people in the flats were so united with each other.
You see, when an outsider looks in, they can't see the goodness in the flats. And see, that's the problem. Because it's a flat complex, you have a look at any complex in Dublin, people always judge it before they know the people. You know what I mean? Devaney, well, when I come down here first, nearly 20 years ago, right, people say, oh, Jesus. But I tell you one thing, it's the best part of my life.
I loved Devaney Gardens.
We are from Devaney and we're proud.
Up to a little more than 30 years ago, the place where the flats are now built was, as you may already know, called King Billy's Field. Horses were grazed here, and on the eve of the cattle market, a lot of animals were kept overnight, it being so adjacent to the market. So it was until the land was sold to a private company and the building of luxury flats. It would seem that it went bankrupt, and the corporation took over and continued with the buildings. Finally, 300 flats were completed, which were named Devaney Gardens.
There's going to be a huge change in the area. All their old homes knocked down to make way for new modern buildings. And there'll also be an influx of private apartment dwellers. Dick Whelan is the project manager of the plan.
At present we have 270 odd flats here on a 12-acre site. Now what we're proposing are 823 units on a 14-acre site because we're getting additional land from the Department of Defence. So the density will increase considerably.
Hey, well, the sun isn't shining today, but most days.
What a strange new world we're heading into.
Whistle around at the moment. Wheelchair.
Gourmet coffee.
It's late in Dublin 20s.
She used to chop the wood and all and saw it. My ma used to make sticks in the back. She used to sell the sticks for 8 shillings a gross. I came from Dominick Street, number 62. 4 children I had, and I got a 2-bedroom flat out of Henrietta Street. I moved out of Parnell Street up to Henrietta Street.
My grandmother and my aunts, they came first. They came from Dominick Street and my mother came from Old Town Street. My grandmother lived just down the road, number 14, and coming up, my aunt Lucy, she's still alive, they lived in 27 Old Town Street. My aunt Chrissy, she lived in Dominick Street, that was Chrissy, my aunt Lucy's sister.
I had only my cousins to play with, and we lived in Jervis Street because, like, except we're all family, my mother's sisters all lived in the one house, and I palled with my cousins, and there wasn't, you know, you'd be kind of with them all the time, you know. We lived actually where Smith's toy shop is now, that's where we lived.
Myself and my husband came in 1954, the year of the floods. We were in the floods down the North Strand, and there were a lot of the flood victims came up that time. So we were given, we got 3 choices, but we picked Devaney. I had no idea what a flat was like or anything. But we were so glad to get in, and we had nothing going. Army beds and army blankets and anything. But everything, because everything was destroyed. We were only a year married and everything we had was gone.
Montgomery's. My grandmother lived in it. And she lived in it. She was taken out there, she went around to Gloucester Place. And during the early, the late 30s, 39s into 40, the two tenement houses together, they blew up through a gas explosion. And she was lucky she survived it, and anyway, she was transferred out of it, up to Oliver Bond, and my own mother was transferred to James Street.
I came from Wolftone Street. You're giving me the word Wolftone Street. No, there was only one Wolftone, and we had a Wolftone Street.
Landlords, they would have been private. I think they were £1 a week.
The old Tenants was found in Dominick Street.
Down in our place where my mummy lived, 19
yard.
They had buckets in the rooms.
Bucket in the room.
There was no toilets, only one toilet for the whole majority of families.
That was
And
in
it
the
was out the
backyard.
backyard. We had a sink, one sink on the stairs, on one of the stairs, on the lobby.
They were good neighbours, they were good people, just poor, just living. And you were never in want. If you were in trouble or anything, you always had someone to your door.
The building that my Aunt Mary lived in was literally falling under. As I said, she lived up the top, she had the back room in front of her. And you'd be going down and she'd say, watch the stairs and mind them banisters, because our banisters was given away.
Given away, that's
Do you know what I mean? So you really had to walk, I mean, we were only like skinny kids at the time, walk up and down. And I mean, some of the steps now that I think had big holes in them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, Dominick Street on top.
Yeah, they didn't go afire.
I remember me Aunt Mary's floor went on fire and we were underneath. My dad went up and my dad put back the line on, all the floorboards were on fire, right? And of course the fire brigade was called there, but there was a hole in the ceiling, you know, so my mum, you know, Mary, you got 2 box rolls at Mary, you throw it down through the floor. This was ages before they got it fixed, I swear. Mary just put a mat across the hole. There was no privacy. I remember that.
Which lived in Dublin 20s.
And it's just upset me to think that I'm going to be shifted. Even though it's still Devaney Gardens, it's the same complex, but it's just that I'm quite settled where I am. There's a big pitch over there, there's no community centre. I'd like to see gyms in there for the kids, I'd like to see football grounds.
Hey, well, not
After I'd hope guilty for
We were at the move from Camel's house to a flat, but in the end of it now, the flats were a lot better. It was like your
Mansion.
you had the back in your water. Now you had to go outside to the back.
We're in the long balconies. My grandmother, they came and they were over 120. My aunts lived over here in 77, 99, 96, 95. They came before me mummy. They came up on horse and cars and hand carts with their furniture, and the kids that was out streetling behind them. All up Bolton Street, all around. Oh, but that's true. Pushing hand carts,
I moved up in Devaney Gardens in 1957. The rent was 29 and sixpence a week then, and that was differential. And if you had any more on your wages, the rent went up. 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, and a toilet, and you had a small kitchen and a living room, sitting room.
Everybody was actually related. You know, your granny lived there, your auntie lived there, your uncle lived there, your cousins were
Someone
over
in
there.
everyone's family lived in the flats.
It was all... You couldn't go out with a fella even in the flats when you were a young one because you didn't know who you were going out because you were all related.
Well, I moved up to Devaney Gardens in 1967. And my first impression of Devaney Gardens when I got off the number 10 bus was how clean it was. It was spotless. I remember going up the stairs because I got a 2-bedroom flat in 159, and I had 2 babies, one 6 weeks old and the other just over a year. And I thought it was enormous. It was a 2-bedroom flat. And from the time I moved into it, I had great neighbours on the balcony. They would have been probably my age now. I was the young one on the balcony and they couldn't do enough for me.
I come from a family of 9 of us. Everyone around was next door, there was loads of kids there, and everyone kind of was in the same.
Had big families.
All had big families and all. If you had to got one person to play with, you know, so one sister wouldn't play with you, the next door mother, you know what I mean? You spent most of the time down playing. If you go mad, you would get called up for your dinner. You play Religio and
swinging on the poles down the...
Tour dealer was on the poles.
Yeah,
on a swing.
Piggy, kick the can. The pram sheds were our biggest tie in Devaney Gardens.
I remember when we were teenagers, we used to sit, there used to be a playground down there and a slide, and we used to just sit on that and we'd make the swings on the poles and on the goalpost, and we'd spend hours there, hours, like you wouldn't even get a dinner.
Well, we went to Finglas first. We were a year and a half at Finglas, and my mother thought it was like going down to Donegal or something. Yeah. She was from Cabra Street. She sold newspapers in the town, and she had to come into town every day, anyway, to sell her newspapers. And it was a lovely house, but she hated it. And there was a woman that lived in her flat. She transferred with my mother transferred into Devaney Gardens.
I met a girl on the bus going home to Ballymun one day, and she was talking about her mother living in Devaney Gardens on her own, and she was trying to get her to live out beside in Ballymun, and that's how I got me flat. So I got back to Devaney Gardens. I got over there, then I got a 3-bedroom one down in the long balconies, and that was over the moon. I was just home, and that was it. But that was unsettling.
Amongst residents, feelings are mixed. Jacinta Murray lives here with her 2 kids.
Ideally, I'd love a house, if I got a little house with back garden or something in the area. These are 50 years old, and like one of the main things I think is great, we have small kitchens. You have nowhere to sit and eat. Like everyone around here sits and eats in their sitting room. And one of the good things we're getting a dining room, or at least somewhere to be able to put a table and chairs.
My father was an Energy Corps in the CIA. He worked up there. He worked in the Broadstone in the CIA, and so was my grandfather, his father. He got him the job up there. He went from there to TNC Martins, down the docks.
He worked at relief work, you know, the corporation relief work. That'd be only, 3 months of the holidays.
You only got that every
summer. You only got that every year.
The Metropole, I had worked in the Metropole for 14 years. I was in the restaurant part, and I was a grill cook in it. He worked in the market, he worked at a fish villager. That's the worst job you ever went to, because as he said, I feel it better when I'm gargled.
Cattle market and had the appetite, right? Every Tuesday night, come in at 4 o'clock in the morning from the boats, from the docks, and all over the country. By lorry. But you'd run the cattle up from the docks up, and you'd be over there at 4 o'clock in the morning trying to get a couple of bob, getting the cows and the sheep in.
My mother always worked.
And the take down my mother.
My mother worked
Smith's, yes, long time thinking of this.
There would have been enough that there would be like that too.
Yes,
you know what I mean? And the men would have done any bit of work they got. But a lot of men did work, but you have to remember their wages would have been very, very low, and a lot of people had large families then. Do you know what I mean? I had 7, but there was some with 13. You know what I mean? And the wages would have been very, very low at the time. And the men actually in Devaney was very involved in Devaney.
I remember some fellas going out to work and all. The women used to kind of have the kids. They used to have a good few kids years ago, and you'd see an odd woman walk. Otherwise, no, I just remember the mothers wheeling prams around.
A lot of young men and young women went to England in them days, you know, in that respect, for the work. And some of them came home, some of them stayed, some of them been away for 40 years. My own sister, she's away 45 years, my brother went away, came home, settled down. It's just the way things weren't good here.
No, they weren't.
And you had to survive, so...
What was the one thing the teachers always told you? You're going to end up on a messenger bike. And to us, that was the thing we wanted. Yeah. That was the only way you were going to get a bike. And it's true, wasn't it, Georgie? We couldn't afford a bike. So we had to go to work on a bike.
I pay all expenses. EU Ireland.ie
Ruth Murray lives in the flats with her 4 children. While she's happy to be getting a new home, she says many are sceptical about the council actually delivering on their promises.
Residents felt that they were getting promised things that they weren't going to ever get. Like, we were promised this, that and the other. I know that's like in the years gone by, but now we have a plan, so they must be doing something right.
You wouldn't get the neighbours in a house the way you would now, definitely, but you know, old neighbours and all.
Our neighbours, Mr. and Mrs. Tracy.
Mary Golden was right next door to me.
Timo, Paul Campion.
Jackie O'Leary.
Maura that lives up over me.
Mrs. Wynne and her husband.
Well, Linda Tower moved in then.
Well, Tomo and May McLaughlin used to live just facing the shop.
Beyond the stairs was Mrs. Gray.
Georgie McCready. That's the old man himself.
And it was Margaret, there was Christine O'Leary.
And then my Uncle Johnny and all. Like, we all lived in the same block. Like.
The Royals, the Conleys, the Rosses.
And then Mrs. Summers. And she was literally like my mother.
Miss Banks.
And there was Lisa, Sarah Dunn.
Miss Mackenzie around the back.
Wayne Conley, Colin Ryan.
Patty Atchison.
Mrs. Ferguson.
Linda Towell.
Scanny. Betty Scantoli.
Glenn Clark. Diane Ryan.
Mrs. MacDonald.
There was Mr. Gibney.
Mr. Wynne, Nicky Wynne.
Oh, Joe Davis was in his 80s when he died.
The Mark and Osby's Murray's that used to live underneath me.
One of the caretakers, John, from Ballyfermot.
Oh, Patty came. Patty O'Brien. She came home from Birmingham to live there, Patty.
Me neighbours, the best. Mrs. Teddy lived underneath Mrs. Ward. You couldn't have asked them for better. No matter what would be wrong, they take in the kids, we look after them, you go ahead.
Because if you were short, your neighbour would bring it in and that'd be all hush hush and nobody would be on the wiser.
Yeah, it was very close kind of the area that if your kids wanted to go out, like you knew where they were and they wasn't going off and stuff.
Well, the first kind of organisation that really started up there started from the rent strike.
You put the rent up, we hadn't ours off.
You're putting it up all the time. I know we were told not to pay our rent, and we were all delighted that we didn't pay the rent. We were told when it was fixed we were to have every penny.
We withheld the money. And a lot of, unfortunately, at them days, a lot of people couldn't hold it, and they were spending it. And then when it was all over, they got big, huge bills.
A lot of the men would have been very much involved in it. And they took over the pram sheds, and as I said, they sit in the pram sheds, and if you wanted information on whatever, they'd have books, and if you wanted to give them the money, and they put it into the credit union. So when time came that nobody would be getting evicted for not paying, or you wouldn't be in debt. So that would have been kind of the first organisation.
Then you had the football in the flats, which was one of the biggest major events
that
went in, and that pitch that went in was one of the best pitches in Dublin for the, well, it wasn't 5-a-sides, it was 7-a-sides.
I mean, you'd Mr. Wynne, Nicky Wynne, and he involved all the children and the teenagers and the young men in the football, and he started the 7-a-side up in Devaney Gardens, which was another great success that went on for years.
Jackie Devaney,
yeah.
That's Matty Bass.
Yeah.
Peter Brady.
Yeah.
John Mann.
Yeah. What the state of that show? It's not a fashion out, it's not a fashion out. It's why you gotta put him in the big canal.
Yeah, every summer, yeah. Brilliant, right, and a great tournament. Like you had all different areas coming in for the tournaments and all.
It was such a big thing then, like
yeah, especially when the finals came. Everyone came in for the finals.
No, apart from what was there, like the ice cream man. This is what I remember as a kid. The ice cream man would come and everyone, all the kids got free ice creams.
They're called summer projects now. We hadn't got a name for them then. So we started bringing the kids out when we got enough money through this bingo session. And having said that, the bingo was a great success. They all came to it because they all used to have a good laugh at it. Again, there would have been about maybe 20 of us organised in it.
They were good neighbours, and everyone was just, like, everyone helped each other. Like, if you needed to go out, your ma just had to say, will you try your eye on them?
Everybody used to be in Betty's flat, telling their tales of woe and whatever. You bet you'd be cute and Billy's dinner, right? You bet you wouldn't care, Billy'd come in and have his dinner, to be about 10 or 12 of us, and their kids in the flat. As I said, Betty had loads of kids, but she was having a baby anyway. I think this was our 13, 14 baby. And we're all sitting there, and we're saying, oh, it's Betty alright, she wouldn't go into hospital. Betty had her babies at home. Next, Betty goes into the bedroom and Nora Jones goes in. The next, Nora Jones starts to scream. Oh, I got a fright. I took the scream, but I didn't know what I was screaming for. I was screaming because she was screaming. But Billy, Betty's husband, took the scream then. What's wrong? But Nora wasn't telling us. We were all running around as angels. Betty had a baby. Betty took a puff of a cigarette and out turned the baby.
I use that.
Then she said something to Billy, and she wanted to hit her. She picked up her shoe and smashed the light. We're all left in the dark.
The council admits that it has made mistakes in the past, and the process now moves very slowly, all the time involving the residents in the decision-making, according to Assistant City Manager Brendan Kenny.
We have been doing this in a number of areas around the city. We've set up a regeneration board or a regeneration committee, and it's made up of residents who represent the residents in the complex. It also includes residents from outside the complex, it includes community groups, politicians. Nothing would happen without going through that regeneration board.
Devaney Gardens would have been the first council flats in that area. And when they went up, we really weren't wanted there. The surrounding houses didn't want to know yet. So if anything happened, the flats was always blamed.
There's always a stigma to Devaney Gardens.
Devaney was a horrible place. Not for us growing up in it, but when I went to work, I was only 15 and I got a job in a sewing factory, Robert Wallace. And the minute I said I was from Devaney Gardens, she just looked at me as if to say, like, what? And if something my mother said to me, I said, well, it's not where you're reared, it's how you're reared.
But we did mix in, but like if anyone said anything about Devaney, you'd stand up for yourself, and I wouldn't let anyone put Devaney down. I still wouldn't let anyone put Devaney down.
Left school about 13 or 14 years of age.
Yeah. I left at
every one of us.
12 years of age I left.
Where the ILAC Centre is now, there's a school, St Saviour's, Little Dermarsk. And I went there from the time I was 3 in front of school. And I left when I was 14.
Yeah. They had all the others in the front, and we were all stuck in the back. And we would be what? Strong, doing everything we wanted. And no one gave a shit. And as simple as that, no one gave a shit. They didn't educate us.
They don't know. All they know is like there's bad people in the Devaney Gardens, but there's good people as well. You know, everybody robs cars, you know what I mean?
All stories, what they heard and what.
It's like people telling bad stories because they probably don't like the place.
Like you used to say, people say, well, we're going for jobs, and when you're away from Devaney. And you'd get some people that'd say they weren't from Devaney, but I'd never ever say I wasn't from Devaney, because I grew up here and I never had any trouble. You have to get to know the people, and once you get to know them, they are very nice. You know, so I think just because they're flats, people are kind of looking down, you know.
At the Regeneration office in Devaney Gardens, anyone can drop in to take a look at the model of what's going to be built. Throughout this time, it's been mostly the women of Devaney Gardens who've driven the process. One of these, Liz Morrissey, explains why.
Because the high majority of lone parents, strong women, and I think it's great that this is happening, and I think it's great that there's women behind it as well.
The DA.
The DA, the two guys at the back was not very nice. Vehicle pickers.
The 12 were on the collar.
Before I can remember, there was always a thing there with Devaney and Cabra.
Yeah.
You know,
there was always a real feeling with a gang from Cabra and a gang from Devaney. No one from Cabra would be let into Devaney.
If the boys would come down from Cabra, and then, like, the fellas here, they'd say, oh, you're starting, they'd come down in a car and all.
Seemed to be just a trend. You're from Cabra, you were fighting, you're from Devaney, you're from Combination Buildings.
I was born in Cabra. I lived Cabra all my life. I was a shopkeeper in Cabra, and then this shop came available and I moved to Devaney.
You know, the same picture house was down in Pittsburgh, and you had Devaney that side and you had Cabra that side.
The times they all came together, and there's been the big battles on the Cabra Road.
St. Peter's.
There will be on one side, Cabra on the other side. Then you'd have the Cabra women over out Devaney Gardens, you'd have the Devaney Gardens women over, girls over Cabra.
I remember when I was dancing, we danced up in Cabra, and the people then that I knew as a teenager used to say, oh, they're from Devaney Gardens.
They had a dance, the State Cinema, it was in Fisbury, and that was on a Saturday, and Devaney and Cabra be fighting each other, and you know all that.
And then when we opened up the shop, I realised that the reasonable people in Devaney, half of their family lives in Cabra.
And if you're going with a fella from Cabra,
you had your
What really happened with Devaney and Cabra, they all married into each other. They did, actually, didn't they?
If you wanted to make anything of yourself in Devaney, you always had to fight that bit harder.
The actual flat was lean and it was just very old-fashioned and stuff, but the complex itself was in a bad way. No facilities for children or anything up here to do with children.
It was around 83, everybody moved out. Because Montpellier opened and Denard opened at the very same time, and everyone moved over Devaney. 90%.
It was like an exodus from Devaney when they built Montpellier and Denard and Blackhurst Road.
Neighbours.
All the neighbours moved out.
Well, as we're getting built, people start getting itchy feet and would love a house up there, and they start putting in for houses. And that's when I start getting itchy feet then. Not because I didn't like the flat, but what was happening, them that was moving out and them that was moving in, it wasn't the same.
That it wasn't a very pleasant time to be living in Devaney Gardens. There was all our own neighbours had gone, and there was a lot of new tenants came into Devaney.
Again, like me when I first came there, they would have been young, but kept in themselves and just practically just slept in the flat. And now that I'm older, I think they just took these flats, but we won't be always here.
We were only teenagers, and when they went up, everyone, I never forget when them houses in Montpellier first opened, everyone was saying, oh, did you get one? And in Denard, up on the Navan Road, and everyone saying, oh God, you're going. But no, when everyone was going, there was new people coming in, they were saying, where are they from? And you didn't trust them for a while, till you got to know them.
They were all just, it was like a dumping ground. And it was very sad for them young mothers. They'd be just all thrown together, not knowing each other. And nobody the community was starting to break up then.
It's just an environment that's turned. You know, completely. The environment is just turned. And the kids, most of them are just bored. So what do they do when they're bored?
When it was really, really cold, we'd be in the halls and we'd have to stay quiet, otherwise the women would come out. But otherwise we'd be in the pitch, we'd be at the shops.
There's nothing to do really. Play football all day, that's all. But
most of them all came back, even though they were living in Montpellier and all, and Denard and all the teenagers came back down.
You know, in the halls and all, looking at all the youngless drinking and going out robbing cars and all. Just playing the cars then when you were burned out as a kid.
The joyriding was a bit now if you had kids, but like, I can't say I didn't enjoy it when I was young, because I did. Yeah, when I was younger, like, you know, there's something to do, there's something to watch, like.
She used to be up and down the road and all, on the football pitch.
On up and down the pitch down skids, getting handbrakes. Like. Then you just bone her out.
Yeah, there'd be loads of people there, they'd hear us, so they'd always run over.
It was really, the antisocial behaviour really became extremely bad. There was cars coming in night after night, and the parents not knowing where the children were, and the fear of an accident happening on the estate.
But I think the pitch played a big part in it, because it was giving them an arena to go in, whereas other areas didn't have that.
Good or bad, there's always 80% of the area is good. There's always 20% that gives us the bad name.
You know, people said something needed to be done, so we got together. Some of the main developments happened through the women's group that was set up in the late 80s, or continued into the early 90s. The creche that was set up on the estate was a huge asset for people. A particular concern was for young people, and in this respect a lot of work was done by the youth service. I think some of the residents' initiatives, like the Residents Association, and some other activities that happened from the hub, as it were, of the women's group. That led to the development of the Community Development Forum, made up of people living and working here. The forum set itself up, and one of the biggest issues was, how many kids are we dealing with? What age groups? What is these children's needs, and what is these families' needs? And the way we felt the best way of doing it was to do a door-to-door survey, and local people done that survey with a consultant. The data was processed then by the consultant, and he came up with 39 recommendations that need to happen. And it wasn't rocket science what people were looking for. It was basic facilities for children, for young people, employment opportunities, education and training opportunities, a pleasant environment to live in, open spaces for people to meet, for children to play, and safety. The 5-year development plan now forms part of the social agenda for Devaney Gardens.
Today it's kind of going down an awful lot, you know what I mean? Like years ago there'd be cars, broke cars and all. Now you don't see nothing, you know, and all that, you know.
For such a large flat complex, we were blessed when every other flat complex and housing estate was devastated with the drugs. Thanks be to God, we weren't. I'm not saying there was no drugs, but we weren't. For such an open place up there on its own, thank God, we weren't.
A lot of people who had their views on Devaney would have never been in here. If they would have been passing through. It has moved, in my eyes, moved along with Dublin at the same pace that things would have been, when things were bad here and when it was quite rough, it would have been rough in most parts of Dublin. It's everything that's happened here has happened everywhere in Dublin.
It's taken at least 5 years to get to this point. Building work should begin next year, and the construction will take about 5 to 6 years to finish.
And I can honestly say, I mean, I raised 7 children up there. They talk about flats. All mine works. Always did. The father always worked. I worked. My kids had a very happy life up there, and they tell you that themselves if they were here. There's 3 of them still living up there with children of their own.
Most of them are born here, you know, Dennis.
Do you want to stay in Dublin 7?
I would be the first to admit something has to be done up there. I would be the very first to put my hand up, say that.
Like, and I wouldn't like to see it go, but I know it has to go because there's too much dampness and the buildings are getting too old.
But again, I have to come personally. I think they just want that land because our Devaney Gardens is a little gold mine, or a big gold mine, I should say. And it's not for working class people anymore.
Well, it's basically, no matter what they talk about regeneration, and they can put it what way they like, none of my business, I don't care what they do. But it's basically a land grab. It's to, in my eyes, it's to use up the land because it's so valuable, which be a good thing or be a bad thing, I don't know.
The only thing I think everyone's worried about is going to be 800 and something put into 270.
They're selling off the land. It's like Sheriff Street.
People are staying in the flats. Yeah. They're putting up with it, hoping that they get a house and be beside one another in regards of neighbours, as our Devaney Gardens.
You're going to get the smaller kids and the teenagers saying, oh, you're from that part and this is from that part, and you know, and we have money and you haven't got money. I think there will be, it'll probably take a couple of years to settle down, but
I would like to see everybody putting a community spirit back into the place. Instead of going, me, 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 me. You know what I mean? But nowadays it's all, I need this, I need that, I need that. But you don't turn around and say, I wonder is that person all right? Is she all right? You know, next door neighbour, blah, blah. So if you put that community spirit back into the place.
The 5-year development plan is now forms part of the community charter, which is the redevelopment of Devaney Gardens. And we're hoping, as a tenant and as a worker, that the community centre that is coming on stream within the new Devaney, that it'll be to benefit the local people and the local children of this area, and the kids get to use it.
And there's still this emphasis from the still have the same, the schools, you know, the kids that still have access.
Like if they put a big community place into it, like the women can go over, the kids is in the creche, blah, blah. You know, something that puts community back into the environment right in there. It'd be fabulous.
And Devaney Gardens I would have classed as my fourth home when I got married. And I honestly loved it.
It's going to be a wrench for me to leave Devaney because I don't know anything else. But if I don't make the move now, I will be another shopkeeper in Devaney, and you could be interviewing me in another 20 years. Do you know what I mean? So I don't really know.